All right. State Auditor Beth Wood joins us to discuss what's going on with the computer systems across this state. Geeky topic, but yet very, very important. How big is this system when you talk about computer systems in the state agencies?
It's huge. Everybody's running on a computer these days, and different agencies having different needs for computers. They all need to talk because we are state government as a whole. There are things like contract purchases, payroll, HR functions that we need to analyze across state government. And if your computer systems, aren't talking one to another, if they can't talk one to another, then you've got issues where we can't really analyze what's going on in our state government. So, and like I said, every agency has a computer system or multiple computer systems.
So the General Assembly passes a law and it says they put Beth Wood on the job, assess how well the merging or consolidation of these computer systems is working.
Right.
You did it.
We did it.
From what I'm hearing and what I've read, you had no way of measuring whether this consolidation has even worked since 2006. Is that a correct statement?
That is a correct statement. You're right, there was a statute that the General Assembly implemented, and it was a direction towards consolidation. But they also put the caveat in there where the state's CIO would look at consolidating services and centers for state agencies, but only if, in consultation with the OSBM, Office of State Budget Management, that it was economic and efficient.
Based on the numbers your team brought in and brought to you and you put your name behind it, has the state saved any money at all by consolidating computer systems? Do you know?
We could not tell you. There were 3 criteria from this legislation. The Office of Information Technology, they themselves put together performance measures, and they said this is how we're going to measure what the General Assembly wants us to do. We are going to measure, did we improve the services that the state agency is able to give to its citizens? Did we improve the services that the state agency had better than the little IT department they themselves had? By taking away the issues and the headaches with IT, can the agency now function better on servicing its constituents? And then the bottom line, did they save any money? So these were 3 performance measures that ITS, Agency Information Technology Services, that they themselves put out there and said, here's how we're going to measure what the General Assembly wants us to do. When we got there, there were no benchmarks in place. There was no even accounting for whether or not any money was saved.
So what do you tell your team when they come back and say there's no numbers here? I mean, auditors like numbers and dollars, and you don't stop, obviously, but what happened?
We did. That was the finding. In essence, that was the finding, that ITS cannot tell the General Assembly whether or not they met the spirit of that law to consolidate, but do it where economies and efficiencies were measured. And to move this even further, we asked them, the state audit, my staff went back and said, you and Office of State Budget and Management came up with a net $3.2 million in projected savings. They said in order to do this consolidation, they would save $6.7 million. It was going to cost the state $3.5 million. So to consolidate this first consolidation, 13 agencies and commissions, there will be a savings of $3.2 million. And we said, where are those numbers? Where did you not track against the projected savings that you said you were going to save for the state? And they could never produce the numbers that they initially came up with on the 6.7 to 3.5 and the net 3.2. We asked them 3 times for the numbers, and they never could produce the numbers.
Can lawmakers call you, or I would say the leadership, Governor McCrory's team, can they call you and ask you about this, or do you hand out your sheets, hand out your report, and you say, I'm out of this until you call me back to reassess whatever changes you've made?
They can call me. I am making presentations to the General Assembly. They have a performance evaluation division committee, legislative oversight committee, and I present these findings, these audit reports to them. And then they in turn will implement legislation, or they'll bring the agencies in, agency heads, to talk with them. In essence, it really is the agency heads' responsibility. It is the governor who appointed them. If it is an appointed secretary, it is their responsibility to fix these problems.
How much of this is opinion game when you audit someone and you look at the numbers and you say, well, I can't tell you what they did? How much of that is opinion? How much of that is fact?
All of it is fact.
So you take what you think out of it.
We do not have an opinion. I tell my staff often, we don't have an opinion. We have conclusions based on evidence.
Well, people think with a state auditor that they're out to get people. So when the state auditor comes into your state agency and takes a look around, you're not viewed as the most positive. Well, you're a nice person, but they view your job as being sometimes hostile. Is that is it hostile when the auditor looks at you?
Not necessarily. There's some agencies that welcome that we come in. And Governor McCrory is looking forward to more of these types of audits because we can assess quickly where he's got issues in his state agencies. And that's been true in the prior administration. There were some state agencies who looked at our work and said, thank you, we agree with that and we'll fix it. As you'll see in this particular report, the response was a lot of excuses for why they didn't do anything with these performance measures, why they didn't have any, why they didn't try to measure their performance. And in that case, then I will come back and basically respond to their response and put the reader back on track. Here was the objective of the audit. This kept saying, that we didn't agree with consolidation, and we're like, no, we don't pro or con consolidation. You just said you were going to have these performance measures in place. We came back to tell the General Assembly whether or not you met those performance measures, and guess what? You didn't even have any, much less try to track against them.
And so all these computers that will serve state taxpayers and state citizens, right now this is your baseline. You don't know, and so as the McCrory administration gets started, new leadership, Chris Estes, will he build off this, or do you not know what he'll do with your audit?
I hope that he'll build off of it, and it seems to be the administration's idea that they'll build off our work. And again, what I tell every agency that we audit, whether it's an appointed cabinet secretary or it's elected official, what I tell every agency is that if you don't agree with our findings, because part of this process is we hand them the findings, they go through and they look at our evidence and they look at our findings, and I tell them, if this is not a finding, if it's not a finding, then you bring me the evidence that supports that it's not a finding, and guess what? It goes away. And it should, because I'm never going to want to put anything out that we don't have evidence for. But just to tell me that it's not a finding or offer up excuses of why you did what you did, the reader needs to get back on track as to what was the issue, what was the objective of the audit, and what did we find?
Bottom
And if you can't defend that with evidence, then you don't have an argument.
State Auditor Beth Wood, spoken like a true auditor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.